Buying a brand new home in Dallas can sound like a dream, but in 2025, if you don't know what you're walking into, it can quickly turn into a nightmare. My name is Preston Gale. I'm a top 1% realtor here in the Dallas area, and I've helped over 100 people move here. I specialize in new construction, and my job is basically to save you money, time, and headache. In this video, I'm breaking down the 9 traps that can catch buyers off guard, from hidden fees to builder strategies to one mistake that could cost you over $50,000. So let's jump right into it. Number 1 is timelines are never guaranteed. So if you're coming over here and you're looking to build your dream home or your next home and you're thinking you're going to be on this perfect schedule where you can sell your house and move directly into this house at a perfect date, well, it definitely isn't the norm. If you're going to look at building a house, you're looking from anywhere to 6 to even a little over a year as far as the build timeline. But a lot of these builders are going to tell you a month, 2 months, 3 months less than it actually takes in general just to get you to start the process of building that home. So they may say, hey, we're going to get this home built for you in 5 to 7 months. I would always at least add another 2 months into that time frame to be prepared for. So things you can do to mitigate that is basically look for a short-term rental. If you're coming down here, basically put your stuff in pods and get an Airbnb. The one thing I would advise against is getting a single family home rental, because most of the time they're going to lock you up into at least a year contract, and it's really tough to get out of those. But like I said, if you're trying to time it up absolutely perfectly, it has happened. I've done it quite a few times, but most of the time you have to be prepared beforehand, just because there are delays from title to closing fees to little bitty things that could happen, inspections, all the above, that could end up making this time frame even longer. So you want to make sure you have flexibility and that we come up with a game plan before you start that builder process. So when you are ready to move, that is as smooth a process as it possibly can be. Number 2 is a big one that catches a lot of people off guard, and that is the price that you see a lot of times is just the base price. You may be looking on multiple different websites. All of them are going to be different, and you're going to see pricing that's maybe says $500,000. It's this beautiful 2,500, 3,000 square foot house, and you think that's the price. Well, a lot of times these builders are going to be advertising the starting price of that particular floor plan and not the final product. That's just the starting price. Some builders have tons of upgrades, and that $500,000 price tag could easily jump to $750,000 and $800,000 if you go with a very high-end builder. So I would say the average is going to be around 10% or so in upgrade costs when you do build. So just make sure that you're working with somebody who knows which builder is going to cost what when the day comes that you have to actually purchase that house. Because when you sign that contract to build a home, we're going to be going over design features and everything after the fact. So you've already signed the contract. There's a lot of ins and outs as far as pricing on every little detail and things that can really jump the price tag of that home. So before you fall in love with just the model home, you got to make sure we go out and we look at these spec homes, the homes that are already being built, homes that clients are already building, to kind of get a feel of what the home's going to look like without the insane amount of upgrades that a lot of these builders put. A good example would be Grand Homes. Grand Homes has some of the most extravagant models that you see anywhere, and then a lot of times you go into their spec homes, and while they're still pretty nice, you're gonna be a little disappointed in what you see. Number 3 is you can negotiate way more than you think. So a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines right now waiting for interest rates to drop, when in reality they already have the low interest rates that you want at most of these new construction options that are out there. So not only can we negotiate on price, but a lot of these places will negotiate on incentives. So basically little to no closing costs with interest rates. I'm seeing a ton of FHA, VA loans in the 3.5% range. I'm seeing conventional fixed loans in the 4s and 5s, and then temporary buy downs even as low as 2.99 for that first year. So with all that being said, competition is fierce with these builders right now because the market has slowed down quite a bit as of the making of this video, and in the past year, while things are still moving, these builders are competing with one another. A big thing to know is that if you are somebody who's not on a particular timeline, or you're somebody who doesn't want to build or doesn't have to build, buying a spec home or a home that the builder already put together and designed and completed is going to save you a fortune right now, especially those of you who are looking in the higher price ranges. I'm talking about $500,000-$600,000. You're going to save $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 by buying a spec home that is already completed, because these builders have the overhead. They want to get rid of it. It is on their books and they want to close that place and sell it. They don't want it anymore. So what they're going to do is negotiate, and we're going to be able to find the best deal possible for you to get in that home. And I can also check comps online, being an agent, to see if those numbers they're giving me are actually accurate, something that you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have an agent in your corner. And you need to remember that those sales reps inside of these beautiful model homes work directly for the builder and do not work for you. Some of them are sweet, some of them are not so sweet, but you got to remember, they are not a fiduciary for you. I would be, as an agent or somebody else you reached out to, would be your fiduciary to save you money. And we get paid directly by the builder, separate from the transaction, so it does not cost you any money out of pocket whatsoever. Number 4, incentives aren't gifts, they are strategies. So they're not just there to get you the best deal, they're there to make money on your sale. So basically what they're doing is they are competing with one another. Like I said earlier, they're reaching out to each other and trying to see who can get the best deal and sell the most homes. So that's why it's so important to have somebody in your corner that actually knows what those best deals are, because they change on a regular basis, week to week. And a lot of times when you reach out to me, I'll still have to connect with them to see what those new incentives are. One big thing for people to note is that when you are purchasing one of these new construction homes, you are going to be required to get pre-approved through the builder's personal lender, even if you already have your own lender that you have a pre-approval from. And that's just to cover the builder's basis and to make sure you're legit, but you do not have to use them. What I will say though is they have these builder lender relationships where they work on volume and not how much money they make on each deal. So they're able to give you 10, 20, 30,000 in closing costs because of this. So with that being said, if you have a new construction lender who's offering a minimum of $10,000, it's going to be very, very difficult for any outside lender to save you more money than that, or for them to beat that. Now, with that being said, I will say that a lot of times, even with the really, really good builders, that these lenders are going to charge you higher fees on these homes, but at the same time, they're giving you the $10,000 to $20,000, so it offsets, and it's still going to beat any outside lender on those deals. Number 5, hidden fees that sneak up on buyers. Now, the biggest one that I have seen with just about any community is that when you buy new construction, you're only going to be paying taxes on the land value for that first year. So your payment is going to be a whole lot less for that first year, and then you get shocked when you have that full tax basis bill the following year. So that is the big one that a lot of people don't think about, and that's with every new construction community. So that's why it's also important to know the community's tax rate, where it is, where it has been, if they have any additional MUD or PID taxes, anything that's going to add to your tax rate. Now, this is something that you can have broken down by that lender that you're working with, which is usually going to be with the builder. A lot of people are choosing neighborhoods directly on if they have a PID or a MUD or not, but I've discussed this in other videos before, is that sometimes that neighborhood across the street that doesn't have any additional taxes will charge $50,000 to $150,000 more for the exact same style of home as that of across the street that's a whole lot cheaper with the higher tax rate. So it's not always the best idea to avoid these communities, because a lot of them have some of the best amenities and are in some of the best neighborhoods with the best builders. You also need to remember that most of these, if not all of these communities, are going to have some sort of HOA fee. Now, I will say that they are not nearly as expensive as people think they are. Most of these communities are going to be around $400 to $1,200 a year, and that's going to be those communities that have absolutely every amenity under the sun, like a Windsong Ranch or Mosaic, Trinity Falls, those types of communities. Those are going to be around the $1,000 to $1,200 range, whereas the communities that don't have really anything, maybe a playground, some walking trails, they take care of the common areas, those are going to be more around the $400 or $500 a year range. Now, along with your monthly payment, you're also going to have utility bills, of course, so it may be a good idea to ask the builder for their utility bills on maybe the model home. I would say a typical home around $150, $200 in the month for a good size house on these new construction homes, but then some places have gas, and then you got internet and trash. But you can get all this compiled and figure out what these numbers are if you're really trying to break down your budget. Number 6, even brand new homes need inspections, and that is true more now than ever. I've seen it all. I've done a ton of new construction with just about every builder multiple times here in Dallas, way outside of Dallas, in the suburbs, in the city. And I will say that doesn't matter what the price point is, is you are going to have an inspection report that's this thick every single time. And that's because that inspector is there to nitpick absolutely everything on that home. With these builders, you're going to have a 1-2-10 warranty. 1 year covers absolutely everything. Perry Homes actually does a 2-year on absolutely everything. They're one of the only builders that does that. And then 2 years on major systems, water heater, AC, that type of thing. And then a 6 to 10 year structural warranty on the foundation. But even with that said, get an inspection beforehand to make sure you're moving into a home that is fit and finished and good to go. So to help you understand a little bit more about the process, so you get a third-party inspection probably about a week, 2 weeks out from closing on a new construction home. And then we are going to have your first walkthrough a few days after. And what's great about this is that we have the inspection report, we're doing the walkthrough, and basically we're going to cover every single item in that inspection report to make sure it is 100% good to go and that we know what they need to fix. We'll also usually have blue tape and green tape, and basically we're going to mark every imperfection on the cabinets, the countertops, the ceiling, the walls. And this is usually about an 1.5 to 2 hour process to nitpick every little detail of that home to get it as perfect as possible. And with what I do with this channel, the majority of people that I work with are out of state or out of the country. And so I take care of these meetings for them and basically do a video call after the fact to show everything. And then we'll have a final walkthrough the day of or the day before closing to make sure every item on that list has been taken care of. And this is just one more reason why it's important to find an agent like myself, because we see all the ins and outs of these new construction homes on a daily basis where the majority of people have no idea what they're even looking for. So I would always say get an inspection. I have seen it all in these homes. Most of the time it's little minor items, but sometimes it's big ones. A lot of times we see stuff with roof, especially in the springtime when we get some storms and things like that. You don't want to move in a home with a leaking roof or something with hail damage already. Number 7 is the design center trap. Now, we know that building a home is probably one of the most exciting things you could do in your entire life. And with that, sometimes we get a little bit carried away on the budget. You say, hey, my budget's $500, my budget's $800. But then when you get in there and you see all these amazing things that you can put into your house to make it your own, sometimes you get really excited and you go well over that budget by quite a bit. And a lot of these builders will give you some incentives to spend a certain amount to save a certain amount. And a lot of times this doesn't actually save you money, but actually makes you overspend. So that's why it's so important to have a budget in mind and go over the details of what is the most important things in this house that we need to be absolutely perfect. So a lot of times the biggest expense people spend is on flooring and countertops and windows, those types of things, if you want black windows or something like that. So it's easy to go over that budget, and I've seen it happen time and time again. Sometimes people go way overboard and then they may have trouble with their home appraising down the road because you got 2 houses, the exact same floor plan. One's got $100,000 an upgrade, one's got 50. Well, it may not appraise to that total number, so you're gonna have to come out of pocket more at closing to buy that house. Number 8, the surrounding community is as important as that home. And what I mean by that is that you're not just purchasing a home inside a community, you're purchasing one of the biggest investments of your life. Not only do you want to gain equity down the road, but you want your family to be happy in that place. So you need to look at not only the neighborhood and where it's headed, the master plan, and see where it's going, what schools are going to be there, what's going to be close by, the crime rate, but you need to see what is being developed around there. Is it going to be something that's going to fit your family's lifestyle long term? How close or how far are the grocery stores, the shopping, the restaurants? If there's not very many that close, which is a fact for a lot of these northern suburbs, then what is coming there in the future? So do some research on this part. So important to not only just look at these houses and fall in love with a home, but you need to fall in love with the community. You need to drive the areas in the morning, at night, and spend a few days like it's a vacation, not just looking at houses, but getting to know the area, talking to the neighbors, and really getting a feel for what it feels like to live in that community. And the last and maybe the most expensive mistake at all is walking into these beautiful model homes without an experienced real estate agent on your side. And basically this is like walking into a courtroom. If you had an experienced attorney that was free and you're like, nah, I think I got it myself. So because we are paid by the builder separate from the transaction, most of these builders, if not all these builders, all pay realtors. So if you're going in there thinking you're going to save money by not using an agent, that is absolutely false. It is actually the other way around. We see what's going on a regular basis. I'm out and about in these communities. I've built tons of great relationships with most of these builders, most of these sales reps, and we've worked with them for many, many years. So a lot of times they're going to give us better deals than a person that just walks in there because they want us to bring more people to them. So it's super important to know what you're walking into, what is actually a good deal. Like I said, we can look up comps in this community. We know the type of people, the things that are going into that neighborhood, and where I think it's headed. I think some places are heading in a great direction. I would move my family there, and there's other places where I know I've read and I've seen what's going on there, and I would absolutely not purchase a home there. And when I talk to people on the phone that reach out through this channel, they point out places that they're looking into, and I immediately tell them 5 reasons why that may not be a good fit for them. Because not only do I want you to like me during the transaction after we save you money, I want you to like me after the fact. I'm really good friends with a lot of people that have bought here years ago. We go golf together. We still stay connected. Our kids get together. So this is a lifelong transaction and decision. And with that, you need to be represented by one of the best. And if I'm not that person for you, just make sure you connect with somebody who is, because walking in by yourself is one of the worst things you could possibly do. Because like I said earlier, we're a fiduciary for you, and that builder, that sales rep, they work for each other and not for you. So they do not have your best interests in mind, even though a lot of them are great. It's just not the way it is. They are there to work for upper management and to get a sale done. So it's extremely important to reach out to me before you just go walking into these builders, because a lot of them will not let you work with an agent after you've already walked in there and said, no, I'm not working with anybody. And then they basically got you trapped and you're working directly with them. And with most of you being out of state or out of the country watching this and moving here, like I said earlier, I can take care of all those meetings and walkthroughs for you. And with that, remember to give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email, and I would absolutely love to help you and your family make a smooth move to Dallas. Hope to see you around town.